Well, all right, let's get started. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this week's Tipple's Brews and Wines virtual wine tasting of the wine of the week. Tipple's Wow. We're going to start making that happen, right?
Just with that expression too?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
No, you can't be halfway with Tipple's Wow.
Okay.
It's wow. You can't.
Just scare people.
There's no like Tipple's Wow.
No, well, that
No.
that doesn't sound like wow at all. But I was thinking Tipple's wow, not like yelling at it.
Oh, no, you got to yell.
Okay.
All right. So this is Elizabeth and Jeff Beaudre. Thank you for joining us this evening. This week, we are going to be enjoying the Les Vignobles Saint Didier Parnac Mission de Picpus Cahors.
Did you practice that?
No.
Oh, it
No.
sounded good.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Well, you know what? I bet to the French it did not. But all right, we are drinking a beautiful Malbec from Cahors, France in the end. All right. The winemaker, Saint Didier, and Parnac is the city or a village in this case.
Okay.
All right. Within Cahors. So there we go. That kind of breaks it down really quickly. If you have not already done so, and I certainly hope you have, go ahead and pop open that bottle of wine and pour it. Serving temperature for us is going to be about 65 degrees tonight. It didn't get all the way down to 60, but that's all right. 60, 65 degrees is a great way to start.
Hard pour.
Yeah, give it a nice hard pour. Let this guy get some air. So this wine could use it. A little early open. I gave this guy, we opened it about 30 minutes ago, but I didn't decant it, but I just let it take a breath. So with a nice swirl while I talk, it should open up nicely. It really does have some good tannins. It starts up a little wound up and it will open up beautifully while we discuss it. So I said 30 minutes in the fridge. That's my normal recommendation to get a red down to cellar temperature. Let's pop up the first slide. We'll talk about food pairings and ratings.
Okay, wait, before we do that, I have a question, which
Yes.
I may have asked before and forgotten what the answer was to it. So when you're aerating something,
Yes.
I know like you're giving it oxygen, helps it to open up, but what is chemically happening that makes the taste change?
All right. Well, I mean, obviously that gets pretty specific, but the big thing
Do you
is
know
you're
the answer?
introducing oxygen into the environment. Oxygen creates a cascade effect chemically.
Mhm.
And so beyond that,
Okay,
yeah, like,
so
yeah.
you know as much as I do about that then.
yeah.
Okay.
Oxygen makes it taste good.
Okay, all right. I thought maybe there was like a more.
But not too not much oxygen and not too soon. You know, like
Oh.
if you were to introduce oxygen into this bottle 2
Mhm.
months ago, it would taste like crap now.
Okay.
Right? Because too much would be over oxidized and it's a cardboardy flavor and that kind of a
Oh,
thing. Yeah, it's
okay.
not good. So yeah, there's a reason to keep it in stasis, slowly maturing,
Mhm.
and then you do a quick maturation. Everything accelerates with oxygen added. So.
Okay, so that's why like you want to drink it within maybe the either, I mean, we always drink it the first night, but
Right.
if you open a bottle, you want to drink it by the second day, really at the latest.
Yes,
Okay.
because the oxygen is going in there, it's going to open up. It will become overly opened and
Mhm.
it'll lose its tension.
Okay.
The acidity will go first,
Mhm.
and then it will begin to lose its tannins, and it will begin to lose and change. It will change some of what you're tasting too.
Okay.
So some of the non-fruity notes that you get that kind of bring the whole package together and bring interest will go away.
Okay.
And you'll end up with nothing but grape juice that will make you giggly, like in the end.
Okay.
And it's funny you bring that up because what you end up with this very flabby thing. That's the wine term of the week.
Flabby?
You've asked me about flabby before.
I
We're going to
have.
go through it.
No, well, I used the term flabby in a tasting before, and I felt like your reaction was kind of like, I never used that word. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Okay.
I thought, so, but we talked about that. Okay, so let's talk about this. I told you guys, here we have, right? We have a wine below 90 points that I made my wine of the week, 88 points. But, and we'll talk about it again at the end with the rating system. There was an 88-point wine is a good wine. That's a good rating. And we'll talk about more specifically what that covers, right? Food pairings, Mongolian beef, andouille sausage, braised lamb shanks, bacon blue cheeseburger. I love those.
And we're having red chili.
Right,
you
we will
said
have red chili.
That would be a good pairing.
It will be a good pairing,
Mhm.
yes, because we got the beef and this wine Malbecs in general
Mhm.
handle spice well for a red wine,
Okay.
right? Because they've got a nice big rich fruit component to
Mhm.
them. One of the reasons, and I talked about it, I guess, at the end of last week, but it's worth repeating, is that one of the fun reasons I wanted to drink a Malbec from Cahors is we've had Malbec from Argentina, which is the current dominant production
Right.
point for Malbec specific wines, right? Instead of just blending.
Mhm.
We've had it from Chile, even across the Andes, but we haven't gotten, I mean, Malbec comes from southwestern France. This is the birthplace of Malbec
Mhm.
ish, I mean, where was the birth actually? We don't know, but this is where they began making, using the Malbec grape for wine production. So I think it's, certainly well overdue, if anything else, to go to the core of where this came from.
And then the Hogsets are having Mongolian hot pot.
Cheers to that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that sounds great.
All right, let's jump back to us. Let's get our
Okay.
initial thoughts on this wine. Scent and taste. This is 85% Malbec, 15% Merlot. They actually put in a little Merlot to kind of tame it a little bit,
Okay.
which is interesting because Malbec from Argentina rarely needs to be tamed down on the tannins, but it clearly is a grape that can have high tannins. Mm. And if you really do that thing, remember we talked about, I call it chewing your wine, really let it roll around your palate. There's a lot of tannin here. This guy is drying my mouth and puckering, feeling a real prickly, feeling. There's a lot of tannin.
There's a lot
that
of
is
tannin.
the tannin.
I'm definitely getting that.
Right. And
peppery
you
feel.
don't generally get that from down in South American growth. We'll talk about why. So yes, good question. I know it wasn't asked, but I knew it would be. We'll cover that.
Okay.
14.5% alcohol. So no slouch there.
Yeah.
As we move into it, we used to talk about age worthy, right? Is this guy age worthy? It's not made for it.
Okay.
All right. It's optimally made to be consumed young.
Okay, but
Which
it
would be-
has high tannins and it's
Right.
14.5%. So
Right.
why is it not age worthy?
It's just not what their intention was.
Oh,
Right. So they're
okay.
saying, okay, here it is. It's a high tension wine by design. Drink it while it's young and tense.
They want it tasted now.
Right.
Okay.
But could it? Absolutely.
Mhm.
You've got tannin, you have alcohol, and let's take one more sip on this guy. The third important aspect is acid. So the acid on this, I would say, is medium,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So, but it's not no acid.
Mhm.
And as I'm finishing my sip, I've got almost a cranberry finish,
Oh yeah.
right?
But I mean, cranberries, if I'm drinking like straight cranberry juice, not a cocktail,
Right.
I get that puckery feeling
Yeah.
too.
Cranberries have tannins.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. It's in
Oh,
the
okay.
skin.
I didn't know it was just like a mimicry thing. Or
Oh, yeah.
something.
No. Cranberry has tannin.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, cool.
absolutely.
Yeah, Linda's like, oh yes. I'm not a nutritionist or a dietitian.
Yeah.
Math is what I know.
So, all right. But I think that's a great observation. Now, cranberry will not hang around. That's because this still has to open up.
Okay.
The fruit will become a darker quality,
Mhm.
much more blackberry and black cherry.
Okay.
That bit of redness shows some acid is there,
Mhm.
which is another reason I think, even though they didn't make this for aging, you could easily go 10 years on this. I mean, we're talking about this guy already has 3 years, right? 3 years since bottling. So another 2 would be easy if you put 5 on there, so absolutely, 5 to 10 years on this wine, it wouldn't fall off.
Okay.
This is not going to be something that would just become awful.
Another 5 to 10 years because
Mm.
we're 3 years in already.
I wouldn't go beyond 2028 on this guy.
Okay.
Yeah. I would probably prefer not to go before 2025.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So more like 7 years.
Yeah.
Total. Okay.
Yeah. And optimally, like we were 3 to 5, I think that 3 to 5 year range is
Mhm.
going to be its peak. All right.
So we're drinking it at exactly the right time.
What else would you say? Okay, so let's get in here. On the nose, it's a bit more about what we're going to taste as it relaxes and opens. You've got like blackberry, black cherry, maybe a tobacco-y quality,
Okay, yeah, I get
right?
that. Mhm.
Kind of a pipe tobacco.
I was gonna say, I can't pick out like the flavor. I'm not sophisticated enough to pick it out, but I don't know. I feel like there's something kind of earthy-ish.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
exactly what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
Earthy.
very good.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I couldn't tell you specifically what it is, but there's something about it that the smell or the taste that reminds me that way, or I think of it in that way.
No, I think 100%. I think that's a good call. There's earthiness to go with that tobacco quality, right? That kind of leafy, earthy thing.
Mhm.
Also, a bit of a smokiness, which I think will develop more and more as we go. I've had this opened longer, so I know where it's going to go. There's a hint of it now. It will develop a bit of a smokiness, and it's there now, and it will get more dominant. Is a bit of an anise black licorice quality. And if you think about it right now, take a sip and think about that. I think you'll begin to get it even now.
Yeah, there is a bit of that. And normally, like, I really don't like black licorice, but I don't dislike it in this.
in wine, I love
like the, yeah,
I mean, time and again.
I wouldn't sit there and eat a piece of black licorice. Though.
No. So differences from South American, right? Malbec. South American and Malbec, the tannins not the same, because this is an aggressively tannic wine. This is a wine for prime rib, for all those wonderful pairings we talked about. A nice bold piece of meat, right? They're more velvet, more luxurious. Neither one is better or worse. They're just different. And in addition to that, one of the things we get a lot of in South American growth is chocolate and violets.
Oh yeah, I'm not getting that.
Right. It's a different expression. And we're getting more licorice, smoky, tobacco. They're not unrelated. You know, you could see where maybe a little crossover back and forth, but it does not taste the same.
Is that completely because of the terroir that it's grown in, or is it?
It's about terroir.
Okay.
Yes. And we'll cover a little bit more specific as we move forward.
Hot on that mouse pad. They're almost through wine everywhere.
Well, that would have been a disruption. Might have had to have another one of these videos where we pause the recording.
Yeah, we pause and like shake out the laptop so the wine drips out of it.
But what I really love about this is, you know, it's a Malbec to me for Cabernet Sauvignon lovers because of the structure. It's a very firm, they would say like a firm backbone. It's got a lot of very firm structure with the tannin and some nice, you know, nice acidity building with the tannin. Though I would say dominant on structure, tannin above acid. Not all wines are that way. Sometimes you have more acid than tannin. It just wines play different way. But the tannin, the acid, when I talk about structure, that's what it is. It builds it up so that you're not just drinking fruit juice, you know, like grape juice that makes you feel funny. That's my new phrase because I know I've said it more than once.
It reminds me of like a little kid, you know,
right?
Like that.
This grape juice made me feel giggly.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Instead, we talk about it at length and pretend that we're not just drinking giggly grape juice.
There
right?
you go.
All right. So let's talk about the Malbec grape.
That means I have to put my glass down to
You're
share
back
the
on.
screen.
Well, I like how much.
Just as I
By the
pick
way,
it up.
I can tell that it's a success already because Elizabeth's drinking it.
Yeah.
And by the way, I don't see Julia, but she would love this wine. So, all right, Malbec grapes. Here we go. There's general color, which I think general color. You can see it matches up beautifully.
Absolutely.
Origin Bordeaux, southwestern France. Bordeaux is southwestern France, but on the coast. This is a little more inland, but it's somewhere in that area. It's also called Côte. The name Côte.
Coat.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, right there. So there's another French name for Malbec, which is Côte.
Okay.
Right. Now most famous in Argentina for production, but is a still core blending grape in Bordeaux. And of course, and then in France, also in Cahors, and which is the dominant grape. Right? Now, 70% of the world's growth of Malbec now is in Argentina.
I think you've said that before. I think when we were drinking in Argentina. we heard
Probably.
that. Yeah. Is this the one that you said should be the grape of Argentina?
Oh, it is the grape of
Oh, it
Argentina,
is
no
the grape
doubt. I
of-
mean,
okay.
that like Argentina, South Africa, and Chile,
Mhm.
and frankly, Australia, all have these very signature grapes, you
Okay.
know. Whereas there are certain regions in France, like
Mhm.
Cahors, for example, is Malbec. Chinon is Cab Franc. So some areas specialize, and then we had don't forget we had the Tannat as well
Right.
from that one tiny little village.
Mhm.
So there are certain regions, though most of it is about blending in France. So, and of course, as I say every time, the United States signature grape should be Zinfandel. We
Mhm.
grow 90% of it in the world.
One of these times we're going to do a quiz for everyone
That's right.
to see, if they remember things that you've
Well,
said.
you know what? I messed up because the original way I wrote this was, but 70% of the world's Malbec is now grown in, and I was going to quiz you. And
Oh,
I
okay.
even gave myself a note and I forgot. Sorry.
Please don't do that.
I think you like it. You've succeeded every time in the last 2 weeks when I do that.
That's great.
Hmm.
Good.
That's right. So Malbec creates great color, wonderfully
Oh, yeah.
intense color,
Yeah.
wonderfully intense flavors and aromas. Tannins depends on where it's grown.
Oh,
All
okay.
right.
Well, yeah. you
They
said that.
they always have some, but they can go from very little to very intense like this, right?
So the French Malbec is always intense.
It does tend to be, yes.
Okay.
It wouldn't have to always be, but generally it is.
Mhm.
It's much more intense.
So
and tannic.
if you're somebody that really likes like a big aggressive red,
Mhm.
then if you're looking at Malbecs, you want to go for the French Malbecs.
Most likely.
Okay.
Yes. Unless you want to go for the very expensive Argentinians grown at the top of the mountain.
Okay.
So a little bit of a temperamental grape. Let's go to the next page,
Mhm.
please. Susceptible to frost and disease and mildew. So it can be a bit of a struggle to work with, but it works with, that's why Mendoza works so incredibly well. Incredibly low humidity.
Mhm.
Remember, because it's a desert.
Right.
It's a mountainous desert, but
Yeah.
it's a desert. Very low humidity. It is a desert, so you're not going to get rain. And because of both of those factors, there's almost no insects and no disease. So that's why it thrives in the Mendoza area.
Yeah,
It's the easiest place to grow in the world.
Mhm.
But Mendoza is warmer, so you get lower tannins. And that's the
Okay.
difference. The big difference is coolness.
Mhm.
So in Cahors, it's a cooler environment. And so you end up with a lower ripeness on the grape. Lower ripeness still retains more tannin as it's developing because the grape's growing, right? And it needs to protect itself when it's not quite ready yet. A little thicker skin, a little not as mature. So if you let a grape over ripen,
Mhm.
right, now you have something that is full of sugar and has lost a lot of its character as far as what humans want, right? Now the grape wants to do that because, hey, Mr. Bird, please eat me,
Right.
and then go,
Go and take the seeds somewhere
take the
else.
seeds somewhere
Yeah.
else and spread me. So that's what they're, going for.
Right,
But humans
right.
want something in between, right?
Mhm.
So general flavors, red plum,
I feel like I'm getting the red plum now,
there we go.
actually. Mhm.
Blackberry, vanilla, tobacco, and cocoa. We're not talking about South. And when you get to South American, the cocoa jumps right out most
Okay.
of the time.
I hadn't
Let me
been
take
thinking
that
about
one.
red plum before, and you probably
Mm.
said it.
Mm-mm.
No? Okay.
But I totally get it. Absolutely. And this is really opening.
Mhm.
It's getting a little richer.
Mhm.
Honestly, I could call it a little bit of kind of a baker's chocolate now.
Yeah,
On the
with
palate?
the bitterness.
Yeah,
Mhm.
with that kind of a nice,
Mhm.
tight, dry chocolate cocoa.
I don't feel like I'm getting
Mm.
vanilla, but
No, but that's going to be a winemaker's choice.
okay.
So that vanilla would be from the barrel.
Okay. Oh, okay. From
So
the oak.
Right. So from the oak. So that's really included not so much as an aspect of directly what would be in the grape, but in how the grape is generally treated.
Okay.
And they do that to tame the tannins. And then in exchange for, more relaxed tannins, more
Mhm.
vanilla. In this case, not getting a lot of vanilla. They had less aggressive oak. We have tighter tannins.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Let's
Ne-
move along.
Next.
Here's the grape structure. So in this case, they do not actually have the thickest of skins,
Okay.
but they're very intense, right? So this zone is full of flavor, and when it's younger, full of tannin. Before and then as it matures, so it's kind of a balanced grape where you get it a little under mature, you get more like this. It still gives you a lot of flavor and color though, so you're not lacking.
Mm-mm.
And then you can also let this grape very much mature, and it can be a big fruit bomb with no.
So you can get really bad Malbecs.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like, there's plenty of really cheap Malbec out there, which they basically grow for sugar, because then they can give you a 15.5% ABV Malbec. They can grow a ton of it per acre and get you a cheap Malbec, which once again, all right, I'm not saying never, but I just happen to like it when you can get a wine with more character.
Sure.
And so I don't want to come off ever as elitist against a casual drinker, but I would rather have something with more character.
Mhm.
And this guy's under $20.
Right.
So we're not talking about, well, I don't drink under $75 or something,
Right,
that would
right.
be. So,
Would you like for me to?
yes, please.
Okay.
All right. So the wine term of the week, the new edition, right? Flabby. Lacking structure, no spine or backbone, which once again needed more definition. When I looked at that, I was like, really? So, the structure of the wine comes from the acidity, which is tartness, right? So, oh, there it is. There's the misspelling.
Well, I told him I
Yeah.
was going to write a heart on the sheet of paper every time there was a misspelling on the slide, because I asked him if he spell checked it. He's like, no, I didn't edit it.
No, I didn't. I was going through and like, boom, let's get this done. So tartness. So whether or not it's sour notes, like if you're in white wines,
Mhm.
you're going to get more just direct sour, right? A Sauvignon Blanc has a sourness to it. We talk about grapefruit, that's a sour fruit, or fresh fruitiness. In this case, when I talked about the fruit wasn't a dried fruit, it's more of a fresh fruit. Yeah. So that's acidity. It's a combination of that, and it can be one or the other too, and tannins. Optimally, it's playing between the two, acidity and tannins. So tannins, that grippy, tingly feeling on your palate as you sip your wine, creates that dry tongue feeling. It's a great palate cleanser when you're eating red meat, the fattiness in there. It will remove the fat on your palate and give you a nice fresh taste.
Oh.
And that's why it's a wonderful combo. So
Sure.
it plays chemically with the meat, but it also makes it so that as you eat a fatty piece of meat, you're tasting it throughout the meal instead of it coating your palate, and then you're tasting less and less.
Huh.
That's one of the great, wonderful ways
That's
that
cool. I
red
didn't
wine
know
plays.
that.
Yeah. Let's move along.
Okay.
Flabby continued.
You see this one too.
Wow, nice.
Mhm.
No, 2 hearts.
Mhm.
Okay. Often comes from overripe. So the word flabby often comes from overripe fruit. I think I mentioned that, as we're talking. High sugar content, low acidity, usually lower tannin, also as it becomes very ripe. Usually with cheaper wines, they have higher alcohol content. They don't have it's not that I'm saying they have no place in society, like kick them to the curb. We should look at them and say, shame. No. With spicy food, that kind of a thing, it could be good.
Okay.
It could be good.
You want to bring
It'd be
home
all right.
some flabby wine for
No,
us to drink?
no, I
Okay.
think there are other things could be better, but it's not that you could never drink one,
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to see you ever drink one.
Well, I have a particular set of skills.
Yeah, there you go. Would you like for me to continue or stop the share, or what are we doing now?
Continue.
Okay.
All right, listen, where are we, right? Where in the world?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
So we are in southwestern France. So just above right along the middle of the growing latitude in the northern hemisphere. France. These are all the wine growing regions of France. So we are down here. In fact, we're right here. So here's Bordeaux, super famous, right?
Yeah.
Bordeaux, where they're using Malbec, but it was all connected, which makes sense. It's right
Mhm.
there. In Southwest France, and here's Cahors, right? It's right here. It's right along the river Lot, L-O-T, Lot. I know it's so short. Look how wavy that.
Yeah, it
river
really is very winding.
It's very winding. So it's along the river Lot. Cahors is interesting in that it has two distinctive growing areas for grapes. Well, let's just take in Cahors for a minute.
Wow.
Oh, so beautiful. Lovely. I like that river a lot. You're welcome, everybody. All right.
The dad jokes just keep
Right. So
coming.
here's the river. So there are two distinctive areas where they grow in here. So there's right along the river,
Mhm.
and there are plateaus, limestone plateaus that are above it.
Okay.
And you'll see that in just a second. So this wine is from the area that is a little easier to grow in, which is along the river.
Okay.
And that's where the price point. Now these guys actually have, this is the entry level.
Mhm.
They have 2 levels above.
Okay.
So they have a big brother, and then the top level is the big sister. That's what I call it. So
I was when looking at this, I was just surprised at how flat that area
Mhm.
is.
yeah, so this is right along the river.
Mhm.
Alluvial soils, so that is deposits along the banks of loose clay and sand.
Okay.
So it drains very quickly, even though it's next to the river. It's not mud, and it's not full of because of the limestone up above and such that are
Mhm.
carved out of. It's not full of what's the word I'm looking for? Organic material
Okay.
to feed the grapes. So you still got to keep those grapes struggling. You can't have happy grapes, so you won't have good wine.
I just always wonder, like, who discovered that, you know, when
Right.
you're dealing with different plants, like who discovered like things were poisonous or whatever. Oh, well, Jeff died. I guess we won't eat that anymore.
Yeah,
you
probably
know?
shouldn't. I know. But especially, well, how about lobster, where if you eat it at the right time, it's fine.
Yeah.
But if you keep it too long, it very quickly turns to
Right,
poison.
right. So who was like, oh, these grapes are, you know, nicely fed and in fertile soil and they stink. They're awful, like terrible to drink. And then you stick them like, what was it? The Canary Islands where they were
Right.
just like on rocks and
Oh yeah.
yeah, there's
absolutely.
like no soil to be
I'm
found.
just going to assume it, people drinking different ones and say, wow, someone at some point looked at it and said, why is this wine lame? And why is this wine delicious?
Mhm.
And what's going on? Oh, grow it on rocks. Okay, let's do it.
Yeah. Let's put it in the windiest area we can find.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Come a long way.
Mhm.
So there are the plateaus. So look at that difference.
That's crazy.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
zoop, right up there. So so when you can see that, like, if you're growing along the side or the top of that plateau, that's going to be a lot different from growing on the bottom.
Absolutely.
And this is on the bottom,
Mhm.
Chateau Saint Didier. Parnac is the little village.
Oh.
So that is where we are. And all right, these are the owners. So that is Hervé and Diane Joyeux. All right.
Yep.
So by the way, Hervé, I'm pretty sure that's the French word for Harvey.
Okay.
I'm like, that's a cool version.
Yeah.
Just saying, nice job dodging the Harvey.
Yes.
So Hervé was a wine merchant from Bordeaux, France, and he visited Mendoza in 1992. This is, I love, like, the end meets the beginning meets it's this cyclical thing that's
Mhm.
going on. So you have a Frenchman goes to Argentina in
Mhm.
1992, and in the early 90s, Argentina was making red blends in the exact same style as Bordeaux. That's why he was intrigued. So
Hmm.
went down. So they were Cab or Merlot dominant, with Malbec as a blending grape. Even in the 90s, because the 90s weren't that long ago, and I will insist that all day long. All right. So even in the 90s, Argentina had not decided that Malbec was its signature grape. So he went down there and he was drinking wines, and he went to one winery, and they served him a Malbec.
Mhm.
And he said, "What do you mean Malbec? That's a blending grape."
Just, yeah.
Yeah. And he said, "This is amazing." And they said, "That's what I'm saying," right? So he was so impressed. He said, "You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy you." So he bought the vineyard.
Oh, wow.
He was that impressed. And he said, he is one of the reasons, not the only, but one of the reasons that Malbec is now the signature grape of Argentina.
Huh. Wow. And then he went back to France and did
So-
the same thing.
And so that's in 93, he bought the winery.
Okay.
They began making wonderful, wonderful wines at the, let me get the thing here. Fabre Montmayor was the name of the winery he still owns to this day
Okay.
in Argentina, right? And then his wife Diane joined them in 1997. She is multilingual and was instrumental in taking them worldwide and being
Okay.
able to then selling them all around the world
Mhm.
because she could communicate with everybody,
Right.
which is wonderful. And I'm sure she had many other great qualities.
Mhm.
So they had this all going on. Like, I'm sure you know a ton about wine and everything, but what they said on their website was her multilingual. And I'm like, I'm sure that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
I want to give Diane every bit of respect she
Sure.
deserves, right? So in 2015, so at this point, so Fabre Montmayor is doing great.
Mhm.
And they go back and they decide, you know, what would be cool? Let's make this full circle. We're going to be Frenchmen making Malbec in Argentina using Argentinian practices to go back to France where they made Malbec originally and make Malbec there. And so that is what they did. And they are now the second largest winemaking landholder in Cahors.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah.
So you said that was 2015?
2015.
Just 3 years before this vintage.
Right. So they grabbed it and they just started, you know, using their expertise, making great wines and
Yeah.
making them available in the US
Mhm.
because there's not a ton of Cahors that you can grab. I've had some very, very unimpressive Cahors in the past and I almost wrote it off. And then I had this wine a little over a week ago with one of my wonderful wine reps, Dan, and he popped this open. He said, "Look, you didn't ask for this, but I thought it was a great wine. What do you think?" And I said, "Well, that's the next wine of the week right there. We have not done Malbec from the source." And I just love to me, the power you're getting out of this wine at this price point. That's a good wine. Fine. That's me.
I like it. I never know what the price is.
Mm.
You just bring it. So
Well, normally $21 down to 18 for the sale.
That's
And
great.
then
yeah.
yeah, so
Mhm.
call it, as they would say online, a sub 20.
So if you were in a restaurant, 35, 40?
Probably, yeah.
Mhm.
About that. So anyway, that's the story, which I think is kind of a fun story about the wine.
I
makers,
really
right?
like it. Yeah, I love that they still own the Argentinian winery.
Oh, they
too.
still have it.
Yeah.
And I figured the question's going to come up. Yes, we can get the Argentinian wine.
Because that would be really cool.
I
to-
thought
yeah.
I thought the same thing.
Mhm.
Interestingly, well, actually, it makes total sense. The distributor that has this wine has their other wine, so
Oh,
I can
yeah.
easily get. I can get the. So I thought that would be fun too, like almost compare it.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I hope you guys are interested. You can let me know. But
Excuse
God
me.
bless you. So that's the story. Want to jump back, have a little discussion, then we'll go to the
Sure.
discussion of ratings and all
Mm-hmm.
those kind of things.
I just love looking at, I mean, this is so French looking to me.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
You can see the limestone and what they're doing in those caves. So you can
Mhm.
see the base substrata down there.
Right. Like the European cellars of.
Mhm.
Mhm.
All right. Well, that's my story, everybody. We'll get back to we'll button up this guy, but what are you guys thinking now that you've had some time with it? Great tannin still.
Mhm.
Still ready for beef.
Remember to turn your mic on if you want to talk.
Right. So I hope you guys are enjoying it, and it's going down as easily as it is here at this house, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to wait on my second glass so
Uh,
I have the chili with it.
Do you want me to give
No,
it?
no, 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 don't give me any more because I want to have it with the chili to experience that.
Okay.
So.
But yeah, to me, definitely like,
Okay, so
Okay.
Consuelo is already anticipating and the Hogsets, they're already rating it.
All
So Consuelo, 91, Hogsets easy drinker, 90 to 92 rating. The Tucker's best story,
Mhm.
88 for the story alone.
Yeah, I
99
like
for the
that.
wine too, that's awesome.
nice.
Brenda, John, and Laura. Well,
All right, let's jump.
yeah, so wait, okay, so we've
All right,
got
so-
88 to 89 there.
Right, so we're jumping ahead a little bit. Let's cover it for the video.
Okay,
I need to cover the slide with the ratings,
Okay.
and do my whole spiel before we get into everyone's rating.
okay, and then I'll give my rating. So you would like
Yeah.
for me to share then?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so like I said, here we go. I hit this every week, but just in case somebody's just tuning in, ratings on this, never fear, in my opinion, the sub 90 point, right? This guy's 88 points, which I talked about that one day I would do. I really like this wine. I enjoyed it. I thought I had a lot to talk about and a lot of reasons to drink it. Not a 90-point wine. But does that really, that's one person on one day,
Right.
right? That is not
Maybe
the
he
end all
had
be
a
all.
fight
This
with
is-
his wife that day. You
this
don't know. Maybe
it's not an empirical thing. It is it's part of a whole thing, and maybe it means we need to try some more Cahors, because if this one is something you really enjoy
Mhm.
and is an 88, imagine what a 92 would be, right? That would really jump up. So 90 to 94, outstanding wine of character. 85 to 89, very good wine with special qualities, which to me, there's nothing wrong with drinking that. 80 to 84, good solid wine. 95 plus, a classic. So now I've done my spiel on that. So let's jump back and you can say what you think.
Yeah, and I would have done 90. I like it very much. And I said no, and then I poured myself more. So
There you go.
yeah, I
Yeah.
like it very much. I really want to taste it with the chili to get because we actually have food that goes with the wine.
I know it's
tonight,
really,
which is very
works.
rare.
It may not be the optimal pairing, but it's certainly within the range.
Okay, cool.
Right.
Yeah.
And I agree. I think this guy deserved a 90. I'm going to tell you, I've had a lot of wines that get 90s that have impressed me less and gotten my attention less,
Mhm.
because it does have some very special qualities. Like here I am drinking a Malbec. I've got this wonderful tension in it, wonderful tannins to go with a steak, but it's a Malbec. And I don't know, I think it's a very enjoyable wine that caught my attention and is memorable,
Mhm.
well made. I'd go 90.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the same as me. Oh, wait, here we go. I know what to eat with it to make it deserve a 90. Here's to the pairings. There you
Yeah,
go.
right, there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. So have you ever said like what your favorite wine is?
I don't know.
Do you call it a genre of wine or type of wine?
I don't know that you call it genre, though I get it. I get calling it that.
Mhm.
Uh,
You don't have a favorite?
Things get my attention, and I taste so much wine.
Mhm.
So there were a lot of years, obviously, Napa Valley Cab, right? It's hard to deny. Napa
Right.
Valley Cabs are well-made ones, are absolutely delicious.
Mhm.
And to this day, I can still get excited about those. One of my other favorites is,
I'll tell you after the recording's over. Go ahead.
okay. One of my other favorites is Gigondas. Gigondas within Southern Rhone.
Have
So-
we had that?
We have not had a Gigondas.
Okay, so we clearly need to have that.
It's one of my favorites. They're fantastic. They're a little pricey,
Okay.
not crazy, but now that we're getting into the holiday season, it'll be in the realm. I've been holding back. So,
Okay.
so within Southern Rhone, the most famous sub-region is Châteauneuf-du-Pape.
Yeah.
All right, so I always do that.
You've mentioned them before.
Right, so Châteauneuf-du-Pape is the most famous sub-region and considered the highest quality. Not necessarily so, but it is a great place, wonderful. I mean, definitely drink Châteauneuf-du-Pape. Gigondas is one of the other sub-regions, and it has a very different flavor profile, and
Okay.
I'm infatuated with it right now. I love it. So, and then there's Amarone.
Okay.
I love Amarone, right? So northeastern Italy, they raisinate the grapes before pressing it. Unbelievable.
We had one Amarone.
Who us as a group?
Yeah.
No, we
had
haven't.
any?
Once again, it's really pricey.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
'cause
you and I have had it. Okay.
right, I try to keep it so that we don't jump crazy every
Mhm.
week. It's a little hard to jump on those, but this is what I did last year for anyone who wasn't here is like during the holidays, I don't do it every week, but like once a month, I kind of bump up, and that's the time of year I like to try something a little more special,
Okay.
so that we can discuss it as a group. And
Mhm.
so I'm not gonna raid the bank on you, but we will, as we get into the fall, about 1 out of 4 will jump up there so we can try something and discuss something
Mhm.
that there's no way to get it inexpensively. There's no good
Okay.
inexpensive option when you get into certain regions. It'd be like a champagne.
Okay.
There's no champagne that you should be drinking below $40.
And when we say champagne, we mean from the region
Champagne,
of
right.
Champagne in France.
Exactly. Not as
Mhm.
sparkling wine. There's plenty
Right.
of good sparkling wine below that
Right.
price. But if it's from Champagne,
Right. Because as Americans, we use we use champagne to mean all sparkling wines, but that's
Right.
not actually what you're supposed to do.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Just call it sparkling wine unless it's from Champagne. And if it's in Champagne, you can still call it sparkling wine. So if you go sparkling wine, you're good to go.
Okay, so you just call it sparkling wine and then you're never wrong.
You're never wrong if you just call it sparkling wine.
Okay.
So anyway, so there we go.
Mhm.
All right. So let's thank all my sources.
Okay.
All right, Wine Folly, amazing, amazing, amazing. They're so wonderful for any wine research. 750.com, Wikipedia, Wine Enthusiast, and of course the winery itself. Yeah, and also you're welcome for buying your wine. I'm just saying. So. All right, so next week, where are we going in all the world? We're in southwestern France. We're going to go to southeastern France. Yeah, we are going. We're staying in France.
Okay, so before we stop the recording though, cover this, and then we have a question from before that we didn't cover. I just remembered.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
All right. So we're going to Northern Rhone.
Mhm.
So it is a region again that we have not explored yet. All right. So we've been to the Southern Rhone, and it was an Iguigal Côte de Rhone, which was a beautiful red blend. Everyone loved it. It's the one that I served when we made filet mignon.
Oh, yes.
About like a year ago.
Mhm.
Like I expect you to remember that. I remember it. But
I
anyway.
remember it because the last time I wanted filet mignon, I didn't get filet mignon.
All right, enough. Yes. Okay. I get it. And then you get none of this one. All right, so we are going to drink instead, this time, same producer, Iguigal, making a Crozet Hermitage. The Crozet Hermitage is a sub-region within Northern Rhone. All of this is in the southeastern part of France. And ratings 92, 92, 91. Not bad, right? So what is a Crozet Hermitage? Is it a red blend? What is that thing? It is Syrah.
Oh,
So
really?
yes, we're going to go. So we've had Syrah from Washington State in Australia. We're going back to where it comes from. Again, I thought it was kind of a fun theme, like we did with Malbec today. We're going to drink Syrah from Northern Rhone.
But they don't call it Syrah.
They call it by the region.
Okay.
The grape is Syrah.
Okay.
So in France,
It's Syrah and it's Shiraz in
Australia, it would be
Australia.
Shiraz, same
Okay.
grape. And in France, in Italy, they name things after the region rather than the grape. Which, hey, they did it first. I mean, it's hard to say they did it wrong when they were the ones who were doing it hundreds of years before everyone else.
Right.
When the Americans began making wine, and we said, you know what this is? Cabernet Sauvignon. They said single varietal, and you told me what it is. What is wrong with you?
I love to confuse people and be elitist. Why did we change that? Well,
Anyway. I love
I'm not saying that they feel that way. I'm saying that
Right.
France and Italy in general,
Right.
and I feel like sometimes like people that are very, very into wine
it
like
can
to make it more complex than it
right.
actually
That's true.
is.
And I over explain things. And by the way, apologies ahead of time for all of you that talk to me, especially in the store when I'm off script. I may over explain, but I'm never trying to make it more complex. I'm just trying, I probably
You're
overshare
giving
too
all
much
the
detail,
information.
right?
Okay.
Yeah. I do love wine so much. So, I'm not trying to obfuscate, but anyway, it's a Syrah. It's with its own great character and qualities from the Northern Rhone. Fantastic wine. One of my favorite regions for drinking, actually, maybe my favorite for drinking Syrah.
And this is where it's from, you said.
Yes.
Okay,
It
cool.
is. So pairings, all right. Boston butt pork roast, veal medallions, and a mushroom wine sauce. Pistachio encrusted lamb, and steak with peppercorn sauce. So, almost you name it, you can put it in there if it's got kind of a nice, robust protein involved.
So you're
in it.
making Boston butt for us next week?
Yeah, I'll make that.
Yeah,
that's a
that
good
sounds
idea. I've
good.
made it in a long time.
Yeah.
So we'll do that and we'll have it with the wine.
Okay.
Yeah, great qualities. I think you guys will see that it is very different from when we drank the Washington State and the Shiraz. It definitely has its own thing. Shiraz.
Shiraz.
That's right. All right. So.
Okay, wait. We're not cheersing yet.
Oh, that's right. We had a
You
question.
have to explain, remember. you
Oh,
said
John came up with a
John
great
asked
question.
A great question
That's
about
right.
the bottle size.
Yes, that's right. John Tucker was in the store today and he brought up a question because he looked at the bottle and justifiably so said, gosh, that's a very slim bottle. Is that 750 milliliters just like these other big bottles? And I said, yeah, it is. I realize it doesn't look like it. It's very much slimmer, but it's taller.
Mhm.
It is what is called a Bordeaux style bottle. So, and there they are. They're very obviously Cahors is right next to Bordeaux. This slimmer bottle was really dominant for a long, long time. Obviously, it originated with the style of choice for Bordeaux, France, right? And then other people copied it and still do to this day, and good for them. But they're getting a lot more creative and liberal with a lot of bottles. So you see a lot of thicker, fatter, heavier bottles out there, but they are all exactly the same amount, 750 milliliters. So.
Well, we like these bottles because they fit very easily
Oh my
into the
gosh.
custom made
I love
wine
those
shelving
bottles.
that we have.
It
Yeah.
makes me happy. I mean, look, as much as we had Dave Finney last week, right?
Mhm.
Dave Finney loves fat bottles, really, really fat bottles. And his bottles can't fit in most of my areas in the store, most of my wine holding sections in the store. I have to put Dave Finney's bottles in the champagne section. Champagne traditionally has big fat bottles,
Right.
but
Yeah. So
yep.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I love myself some Bordeaux bottles.
yeah,
They make me happy.
exactly.
I can put them anywhere in the store. So anyway, that's it. So Burgundy, and because of their Chardonnays, well, Burgundy has Champagne is in Burgundy, by the way. So Burgundy's Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and Champagne all has bigger bottles,
Mhm.
and that's a Burgundian.
Okay.
That's the style.
And these are
Champagne is its own thing because it's even bigger.
Bordeauxian bottles.
Bordeauxian, why not? Right?
Okay. Yeah. No. And I really like the shape of this bottle because I feel like it's much more elegant than like the fat bottles.
Well, I
but-
wish everyone felt that way.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The other guys drive me crazy.
So any last comments before we thank you for coming and
That's right.
turn off the video? No?
All right.
Okay.
Well, here's to you. Thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Thanks. See you next week.